Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Bright Founders Talk at Temi. Temi is an international software development company that designs, builds, and delivers software for sustainable businesses and promising startups. My name's Matthew. I'll be your host today, and I'm joined by the lovely Sarah Jenkins, who is the CEO and co-founder of Genesis Digital. How are you today, Sarah?
I'm great. Thanks for asking, Matt. Appreciate you having me on.
Thank you, and thank you for taking time out of your schedule to speak to us this evening. Sarah, before we get going, if you can give us a little bit of a background about yourself, your role as the CEO and co-founder of Genesis, maybe tell us a bit about the company.
Sure. I wasn't always the CEO, and I wasn't, I've always been the co-founder though with my late husband. So that was an interesting trick. So my husband passed away 4 years ago. And so when he was we found out that he wasn't feeling well. We got him checked and it turned out it was, cancer. So we started immediately preparing for that. So I took over whatever he was doing in the company. He stayed on as the face for a few more years. We'd always build the company together from the ground up. So I knew what I was doing. I knew all our employees. I'd already been working the company for since its inception on whatever it needed, accounting, chargebacks, all that fun stuff, HR. So then when I took that seat as CEO, it wasn't a big deal for me because it was already our company and I'd already been running things for a couple of years. But I did feel the weight of the responsibility, pretty soon after my husband passed. And then I got used to that too. But that was the only thing that surprised me, I guess, becoming in charge.
It's all came to you quite suddenly. I know you have a large family and everything happened rather quickly. How was that process for you, getting to grips with it and getting up to speed?
I was raised in Detroit, Michigan, and the outskirts of Detroit in the small town. My family was raised very strict, Southern Baptist sort of. Like my dad wasn't allowed to listen to like rock and roll or dance or play cards, stuff like that. And we were raised a little bit more liberally than that, but very, very strict. I went to a homeschool most of my life. I did a private school for a couple of years, didn't go great. And then when I went to the college, it was a homeschool college, and it was part of that religion that my parents were sort of raised in and believe in. And then it turned out to be a cult. And luckily I didn't stay there, but mutually I wanted to leave and they didn't want me to stay. So I didn't make it more than a year and a bit at that college. But being raised in that different, really strict environment. And then my family was also in Amway when I was younger. So I was taught about sales, and my dad was backstage as the sound guy for the conventions of like thousands of people. So we were around multimillionaires all the time. So that gave me this really kind of odd start to business. I believed that anyone could do it. So I was around multimillionaires all the time. So I was like, they're just people like us. We can do this. I was around difficult personalities, interesting types of people that would choose Amway or the strict religion route. Gave me a good opportunity to hone in on those observation skills and learn how to deal with more off-the-cuff personalities, I guess. And I think that helped me a lot in coming into different roles in my life, especially our software company with a multi-diverse culture. We've got less than 50 employees in the United States. We've got 100 more employees all over the world. So to navigate, and we're on 100% remote, navigating the Romanians, the South Africans, the Philippines, and the Americans, Canadians, whatever. I think I was always ready for that, because when you read the room and you're dealing with people that aren't necessarily the standard average bear, you get to know those nuances really well. So I think I've done a pretty good job at that. I mean, we've got 30 million in revenue. We've got 40,000 customers or something. We're doing pretty good.
Wow.
So I think that was super helpful for me to have a decent start and a diverse, unique background. So I wasn't stuck in the traditional thinking. When you're homeschooled, you think for yourself and you learn for yourself. So yeah. I think that helped me as well.
That's quite interesting. So you had a unique, let's call it a unique start from, what I've dealt with in the past. It is a little bit different. It sounds like you recognized early on that this is the direction that you were going to go in. Can you tell us about the beginning, some of your first ventures, some of your first ideas? What did you get into? Where did it go?
Well, my first failure was I was 12 and I was babysitting 6 kids regularly. Like my mom would leave to go to the store and I'd be in charge of the kids. My aunt would go pick up her husband down the street and I'd watch the kids. So I thought I was this terrific babysitter. And I was 12. You should never let a 12-year-old babysit your kids, by the way. Bad idea. But I went to the neighbors and I was like, I need to earn money. My parents paid me money. My dad's got a really great job. He's an air traffic controller. I was like, I know I can make money. I believed in it that strongly that early. I was very wishful thinking. So I put flyers in everyone's mailbox, like first hour free.
Oh, wow.
I'm 12 years old. I have this much experience with 6 kids or whatever. I just made this, I colored this flyer. It probably looked ridiculous to a parent, but I put it in all the mailboxes around my neighborhood, like, I'll babysit your kid. And if you're not happy, don't pay me.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know where I got that. Probably books, some business books I was reading. When we were in Amway, we had a tool room of all these books, like How to Win Friends and Influences People is a really great one. I read that many, many times. I think I got that there where you give a guarantee or a refund, money back guarantee thing. I don't know. I was 12. It was really funny. But that was my first failure. I got one call, one job. The kid started a fire in the microwave because we were allowed to use the microwave. Apparently he wasn't. So
Wow.
they didn't hire me again.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. From there, I was 15. I was getting in trouble a lot. I wasn't the perfect daughter. I've certainly learned from a lot of those mistakes. But my mom was like, what are you even going to do with your life? I was like, well, I'm going to own my own business. She's like, really? I think she asked me out of frustration, but my response may have surprised her. And so she goes, okay. And they talked to a lady from our church. And they said, Sarah's getting in trouble. She's not really got a good direction going for her life. Would you, mentor her? And so this girl, Janice, worked at this little boutique, took me out every Wednesday for coffee, prayer, Bible verses, and then we go to work. And so she taught me about sales, taxes, payroll, management, how long something stays on your sales floor, how you are a showman. You're not a salesman. You are on the sales floor. You are there to serve. And so I took a lot of those lessons really to heart. And I saw, again, this woman started a clothing business out of nowhere. And it's wildly successful in this little stupid town of Michigan. And I loved it. From there, it just made my unreasonably egotistic belief that I could make money even stronger.
Yeah. I like that.
So eventually I went to college, didn't do well, got asked to stop attending, and I mutually agreed that was the right decision, and moved to California when I was 19 with $200, a bicycle, and a bus pass.
Wow.
I lived with my aunt for a few months and was her nanny, helped her with a baby, and then I moved out, got my own apartment, and worked at 3 jobs on my bicycle. Saved up money, got my own place, and eventually, probably 90 days later, met my first husband, who was a personal trainer. He said, you should be a personal trainer. I was like, but we got into it, and I started doing personal training after my second baby. And at that point, our personal training business was so big because we learned about the internet.
Yes.
Craigslist, stuff like that. Like MySpace was big. And we got so many clients, we couldn't handle them all.
Wow.
So we group training of 5 or more or 5 or less people. And then we started handing off like, hey, we've got these 5 and 2 more just showed up. What are we going to do? We're like, hey, Cardina, you want 2 more? We'll give you half the rate for them. Just throw them in your groups. So she's like, great. So we started getting more and more clients and realized we're actually pretty good at this internet thing. So we had the #1 website in Southern California for personal training. And then as we got better at social media and marketing and started going to these marketing events and learning about SEO and copy and opt-in email lists and stuff, we decided to teach that actually to fitness marketers all over the world. So we went global. We decided not to stay in Southern California, but go extra and do that fitness marketing stuff, which was also pretty successful. We got our first $1 million a year business doing that. And then my first husband and I split, and I ended up marrying my second husband, now my late husband, who got me into the software and video, much more broader market. And then that edged us into software. It was kind of like the next thing, like as you grow, if you learn you can grow tomatoes and sell them at the street, you probably learn that you should also do cucumbers. If you can sell them up the street, maybe you should give half of your batch to someone down the road and hire someone to go down there. So it's like a slow progression from the stupid flyers in my neighbors' mailboxes to now we're developing software because we see a need based on the marketing products we already put out.
It's an interesting story. I like the way that it developed, and from what you explained with the start with the personal training and where you are now, there's a lot of similarities, I suppose, through how you're selling the product and marketing the product and those kind of things, even though they're quite different, doing podcasts and developing software and training people, two different things, but similar sort of framework around building the businesses.
Well, human behavior doesn't change. I read a book called The Reasons Why People Buy, and it made a lot of sense to me because internally you already know that. You know, if you're going to purchase a hamburger, it's because you're hungry. So you're buying for the reward and the fear of the hunger. So you're either going to buy something based on fear or reward. Why do I buy fancy jewelry? Because I like that it makes me pretty. That's a reward. It increases my ego. If I'm going to buy, a new mat for my front door, it's not because I need it. It's because I think it elevates my home, makes me feel good about myself. But if I'm going to buy insurance, because I don't want my house to burn down. And if I have a fear of that, besides that it's legal and I have to, you're buying that based on fear. You have your life insurance based on fear. So there's always reasons why people buy, no matter what it is. So if you understand the human behavior and then the technology around how to sell it, you can sell anything you want as long as there's a market for it, like sell hamburgers to a starving crowd.
Literally. Do you want to tell us a little bit about Genesis? Tell us a bit about the company, where you are at the moment. Tell us a little bit about your team and what's happening in the current times.
Oh, I'm very, very proud of it. I love our company. I love our employees. I love our products. I actually love our customers and affiliates. And I know it's mine, so it's very close to my heart. And my husband and I did that together. It's my late husband and I's thing. So I'm very, very attached to it. But I am very, very proud of it on an external level as well. Like any one of my great employees that I have, I would refer them out if they wanted to leave. Like if they want to go get another job, I'd be like, absolutely, do what's best for you. Here's are their skills. That sort of thing. If somebody wanted my product, I'd be like, oh, it's a great product. You should totally buy it because it's got all these, features. So right now we're at a point where we're at the 30 million revenue a year. We're doing hundreds of millions in revenue through other people who have bought the software and selling products. Like we were on a boat and I had a couple of people ask me like what I did. And I said, oh, I work in software. I don't want to brag or anything. And then finally they found out I own Webinar Jam. And they're like, oh no, I've made millions using Webinar Jam. I was like, testimonial, please. But I had no idea because I don't see the revenue side of anyone that uses Webinar Jam. But with Kartra, I do. I can see my best customers, how much they're making. And it's awesome. I'm so proud of it. Some people make a lot more than me, which is great using my software, which I'm very humbled about. So at this point, we're rolling out better and better features. We've included webinars now in Kartra. They're not quite the level of Webinar Jam, but they're getting there. We're just tweaking and making better. We've improved our help desk, managed our membership sites better, and we're coming out with a lot of different AI and adaptive behavior. Okay. So we already had behavior target marketing, where if you land on our website and you don't buy, you don't like it, and you come back in a certain date range, it will be a different page. Maybe it didn't hook you the first time. Maybe you didn't like the headline. So we've got behavior target marketing, which I think is really smart. And what my next goal is for when you build a funnel, for it to test the conversions, like split test this funnel, and then automatically choose the one that's best for you and create the next test. That's my dream. And we're researching and working towards having that happen. That would be, to me, amazing. If it could choose, not only build your funnel for you when you put in the little prompts like ChatGPT or whatever, but then pick the best one that your audience is clicking most.
That's cool. I like that. I know that there's a lot of work involved in that. And you were telling me that you have a big team around the world. And I think you said 50 odd people in the States, more or less. How many people do you have with you in America? Is it 50?
I think it's just a little less.
Okay.
It's just under 50. When you get over 50, you hit a lot more regulations.
I see. Nice.
Which we will.
Tell me a little bit about assembling your team. Tell me about some of the qualities that you look for. What is important to you when you think about bringing people in to a business, which is obviously something you're very passionate about. We can see the way that you talk about it, how you feel about it. So how do you choose the right people to onboard into this?
Well, I haven't always chosen the right people. I'm pretty good at hiring, but not perfect. We've had a couple people come in, and when they're onboarding, if they don't play nice with others, is a big, huge red flag, because we're entirely remote. In 2014, I told my husband, we're shutting down the office and you're working from home. Everybody go home. I'm done with you going to the office. We have a baby girl. We have 3 other kids at home. There's no reason for you to leave every day and go to the office. You could do that work at home. He agreed. So we shut down the office. And since then, you have to get very good at communicating over the keyboard. It can't always be an in-person meeting. You can't always see how somebody's phrasing things. So we had to train some of our staff to go beyond. Like when you say, where's that spreadsheet? Hey, no. Take that extra second. Hey, remember that spreadsheet I asked for? Do you think it'll be ready soon? Smiley face. So you have to be a really good communicator, or it will start the underlying drama of, she hates me.
Yeah.
They're mad at me. This is text. No. Everyone is savvy. They're going to be good at working from home. People that are a little bit sometimes older don't get it as well. And sometimes older have been doing this for years. They're good at communicating no matter what format you put in front of them. So the number one thing I look for is, how comfortable are they talking about their area of expertise? Are they excited about it? Do they have ideas? Are they a hands-on worker? Or are they just a manager, which I don't love, because if your staff is not doing well, you have to jump in and make sure it's done right. And then, a lot of that is when you're talking to somebody, I think a lot of times you can suss out, if you're good at reading people, a level of intellect that you're going to require, how they interact with you, how comfortable or confident they are. And that is some of the things I look for in a good leader. So those are sort of my upper staff, and a lot of loyalty and integrity. I think integrity is number one. If you don't have that, I don't want to work with you.
I like that. There's some good qualities there. And it's an interesting thing you brought up about texting. I like to put smiley faces in everything. I know that you can read a message in the mood that you might be in. And it's a wonderful way to miscommunicate. How are things looking for the future? Have you got any big plans? What do you see happening? You did tell us about one of your dreams with the funnels and the automation of the funneling software, but what do you foresee? What sort of big things are in your timeline?
I think that we're gearing up to I don't know if anyone owns HubSpot that listens to this podcast. We're going to end up competing with HubSpot. They have a huge part of the market. I think my software does what they do with a couple caveats, and we do it. Ours never breaks, which is funny, because if our server goes down, the entire Kartra will go down and everyone will freak out, because it's tens of thousands of customers. Businesses will go down, just crash. But when it doesn't go down, which it doesn't go down very often, it's very rare, and I get to hear about it. But everything in the software, the funnels, the pages, the merchant accounts, everything works perfectly. It does not break. Either the whole site's down or it works perfectly, which I think is a huge positive. Because even when you're using Apple and stuff, it'll crash. We don't have that stuff. We don't have funnels that break. If you've got a misconfiguration, our staff put in the customer service ticket will just help you immediately. So I think that we're going to expand pretty rapidly in the next 5 years because we are that good. If we don't get acquired by GoDaddy or something, I think we're going to keep on growing and keep on improving. We're not out of ideas. Our customers tell us, if you're ever wondering for your business, what should I work on next, right? So if I've got the membership sites, I've got the help desk, I've got it all, we should just move on, right? No. Ask your customers, what do you like about my product? What could be improved? First of all, improve, so you keep your attention up. And secondly, what do they want to see next? I just added webinars to Kartra, and I shit you not, I've got this complaint that came in. It made me laugh. I was okay, is there any negative feedback? I want to know. No, people are excited. It's not quite Webinar Jam yet, so a lot of people are going to keep Webinar Jam and then use Kartra in congruency. But someone goes, well, it doesn't have a dark mode. I was what? We spent months coding webinars into Kartra that are really hard to do. And oh man. I was okay, yep. You know what we're doing? We're coming out with a dark mode.
Yeah, nice.
That was the number one complaint. Or this is super cool, but could you add dark mode? I'm
yeah. What
Never
about
say nice, can you?
all the thousands of hours of design work and implementing and testing and running procedures and late nights and stress, and they're like, really cool, can you change the color? Yeah. But that's people, isn't
Yes.
it?
Yes, I can. Let me get right on that for you. Well, it made me laugh because it was such an easy thing. Like, well, we could develop this in a minute, of course, but it made me happy that the biggest complaint or request was that it had a different color. I was like, fantastic.
Yes.
So we're constantly improving those things. I'm not sure there's a next product after this for a while for me. This has been my everything since 2013. So it's been 10 years of really working hard and grinding on Webinar Jam and Kartra. And I don't even know what could be next, but I think it will be obvious to me at that time.
Talking, going down this sort of vein here, let's say I'm a young entrepreneur, I'm starting out, I want to get into software. This is something that I'm passionate about. What sort of advice would you give me if I came to you and I said, Sarah, look, this is the field I want to get into?
So explain to me what you want to do. Why do you want to do that? As obviously there's a why. Like I had this neighbor of mine, she started a House of Lebanon Instagram, and she goes, how can I make this great? I said, well, what's the point of having it? Why do you have this? She said, I want to get notoriety for the Lebanese people in San Diego. I said, that's a great thing to start. So if you want to get followers, do you want them to be Lebanese, or do you want them to be not Lebanese that are interested in the Lebanese culture and people? She goes, that's a good question. I was like, so you have to break down your questions of why you're doing it. Like, are you so passionate about hamburgers that you really want to start your own In-N-Out competitor? Or do you understand that In-N-Out might be failing on an ethical perspective or a financial perspective or a hiring level, and you're going to come in and fix that hole or cover that gap, right? So there's got to be a reason why. You have to see, you can be passionate and pretty much sell anything to somebody, but if you want something that's ethically helpful and you can really sell it and be proud of it, you have to know why you're doing it. If you're passionate about koi ponds, you should absolutely do that. You should go look at all the koi ponds that are out there. What's the competitor rate? Who's got an internet presence that sells koi ponds? Is there a good blog of information for people looking about koi? Like, you have to find that passion that you have and then turn it into a business, because there is a business there, no matter what it is. For the most part, if you go on Etsy, you will come across some funky stuff. People make a business out of anything.
I have noticed that there are very few limitations to what people are prepared to sell online. It's a crazy world.
Great. You know, like my teenager, she makes fun of me. She's like, mommy, I need money. I'm like, I'm not just going to give you money. You have to earn it, or show me why I would give it to. Like, do you need it? Are you unhealthy? And she's like, start selling my feet, only feet, no free feet. I'm like, no, baby girl, no. She was joking, but it's a thing. Like, you can sell anything.
Yeah.
But software, I had this one nanny that was working with me. She owns a nanny company. And she goes, I need to get an app so people can go and select their nanny, their price range, and the time they want the nanny. And I've hired this guy, and he's going to build this whole app thing. And she told me the price, and I was like, oh, girl, you're just starting. Like, this seems like a basic app. Do your research. Go on Google and say what places already have apps ready that you can just change the format. What places on Fiverr can you get a guy to do the design of the app? Then you go to this guy. Do more research on how you can get it done more efficiently. We started out with 1 or 2 guys in Romania building a Google Hangout overlay, and that was Webinar Jam. Very simple. And then we added a chat feature, and then we added a link that would pop up when you get to that sales part in your message. So, and then we became its own product, and we developed it with like 6 more developers, because now we had the money. We sold the beginning Facebook or Google Hangout overlay that's now its own software, which comes with its own bunch of headaches and awesome problems. But that we grew, like we expanded, but you start with what you can. So in software, you're filling that gap, you're filling that need. A little bit of an interesting story. We were doing a 8-hour video interview, like podcasting now, but we had a bunch of the old school internet marketer guys, you know, my husband, Ed Dale, we got Mike Koenig, Frank Kern, all those people were on this big Bossathon, because Andy was selling Video Boss, his second round Video Boss. And the bill to host this video streaming on the internet was like $100,000 or something. And back in 2012, that was incredibly expensive to host videos. So we're like, there's got to be a way. We know video sells more than anything. That's the whole premise of Video Boss, the product. Video makes more money than anything. And that's proven over and over and over again now that there's Reels, video podcasts. You know, the Joe Rogan thing is on video now. It's not just audio. We've got Reels and TikTok, Reels on Instagram, Reels on Facebook, and now Reels in YouTube. Instant video sells more than anything. Amazon #1 products all have video.
Absolutely.
So we took that and we said, nobody can afford $100,000 for video streaming, but we know video will make them the most money. So we're going to make it, and we're going to make it cheaper and better. So you start as a software, finding your resources, finding why you want to do what you're going to do, and fill those gaps. You know when you're using a product where the gap is. Somebody decided when they got in their car that the steering wheel was too cold. So they put the little heat in there, and those are the only cars I buy.
I think that's fantastic. It's incredible what it's done for the industry. Do you actually have a heated steering wheel?
Of course. In all of my cars. I just bought my 17-year-old daughter a Jeep, and I made sure her car has the heated steering wheel because I have to drive it till she gets her license.
Yeah. Nice. I like it. Oh, it's fantastic. So, look, Sarah, what I'm going to do, I've got a last question for you, okay? And I'll ask everybody this. If you have to wake up every day and see a quote written on your bedroom wall, you have to look at it every day, right? Every morning when you wake up, what does it say?
But there's actually two. One of them is the 1 Corinthians. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love suffers, no wrong. Love keeps no record of wrong. Love is gentle, love is great, all that stuff. Like that's what I like. That's what I make my kids put on their mirrors. This is what is most important to me more than anything else in the world. Money doesn't matter. This life is finite. You can't take it with you when you die. It doesn't matter what kind of house you have to understand that with of the fruits of the Spirit, love, joy, peace, patience, the greatest of these is love. And what is love? Love is patience, love is kindness. All that stuff. So that's the #1 thing that is most important to me and my family. And I hope they carry that on with them when they grow up. And then the second one is I didn't want to get out of bed after my husband passed away. I was doing really poorly. Just, you have your off days. And then I was talking to my boyfriend. It was soon after Andy had passed. It had been like 6 months. I wasn't quite ready for a relationship, but he was just so sweet and kind and there for me all the time that I was like, I don't want to get up today. And he's like, you have to get up. I was like, I don't want to. The kids are in school. I'm fine. I could just take the day, just kind of wallow and be sad. And he's like, no, because you have a whole company, you have a whole family, you have a whole household to run. There are so many asses to kick. And who's going to kick it? You're the only one that can kick everyone else. You're the boss. No one else can tell you what to do. And I was like, shoot, there are so many asses to kick.
I like
it.
Nice. It's a little bit different from the norm, but I like that one. I'm going to write that down if you don't mind. Everything in balance, right? Everything in life's got to be about balance. So we can love as hard as we can love, but when an ass needs kicking. Tell me, last one then for you. Is there anything maybe that I've missed out? Anything you'd like to tell our viewers and our listeners that you might think is important, or anything about the company that you'd like to mention that I may have skipped?
Yeah. So unfortunately, when I went through that whole ordeal with my late husband, cancer, and all that awesome grief and the children, honestly, the best thing that could have happened was we had our estate in a trust. We had a will already done. The banks were already in my name and not his. So it was a comfortable transition as much as possible. So get your ducks in a row. Life will kick your ass whether you get up or not. And if you're a founder, make sure your operating agreement is in order. If you have a partner, make sure there's a buyout agreement if you die so your spouse is taken care of. Or if your spouse is in your business for you or with you, make sure they have that opening to come in as you so that they're not left with nothing or a payout that doesn't make their whole life better. So think of those things that are tragic and horrible and prepare for them now so you don't have to let your spouse deal with it when you're gone. It will happen, just if not today, it's, maybe when you're 93, that'd be best. But that's the thing is operating agreement and partnership agreements to protect you and your spouse when you're starting a business, when you're getting investor money and somebody wants to take a portion of your company. There are times when that's appropriate and you need that investment money to get to that next level. but don't give away the money or the marketing if you can, to keep that business ownership under you, and make sure your contracts are fierce and wonderful and protect everyone involved. That's the only thing about this bright founders don't do. They don't get their trust and operating agreement and legal ducks in a row sufficiently most of the time.
It's valuable information. And I'm sorry that you had to learn from it firsthand, but also appreciate that you would share that with us. And I'm sure there's going to be a few people who will hear it and go, oh, yes, that's something I've been putting off for the last 7 years. Let me go and sort this out tomorrow. All right, Sarah. Well, look, I'm going to let you go. I just want to say thank you very much for sharing your time and your experience with us. Thank you for being so open about it. And we will be keeping our eye on you and wishing you the best for the future.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me, Matt. I appreciate it.